Hello, good morning students. So again today we are going to discuss about the two topics, that is Rutherford model of the atom and Bohr's model of the atom. We are going to revise this because this is the portion of your second internal assessment test. So and these are the two important topics, so we will discuss this here in this topic. So here in the figure, as you can see, that the setup is given. Rutherford bombarded a thin sheet of gold foil. As you can see here, the thin sheet of gold foil in the experiment with alpha particle. And what is the source of alpha particle? So here in his experiment, Rutherford used alpha particle, that is He2 plus ion, and this source he has taken in a lead shield. Okay, then he took gold foil, a thin sheet of gold foil, and what he did, he bombarded the alpha particles in this thin gold foil. He bombarded alpha particle in a chamber. You can see that the rays are striped on the surface of fluorescent screen. How can we know that the alpha particles, some of the alpha particles are undeflected, some of the slightly deflected, and some have given a large deflection? So how can we identify this? We can identify this by placing a fluorescent screen around this. How? If any of the particles strike on the surface of this fluorescent screen, that part or that point will glow. So this is the whole setup of the Rutherford alpha particles. Now when he bombarded this gold foil with alpha particle, he found that 99.9% alpha particles passed undeviated. Some of the alpha particles were deflected by small angles. And one more thing he observed, that very few, like 1 in 20,000 alpha particle returns back. So these deflected by large angle, 180 degree. So now he draw some conclusion. So the following conclusions were drawn from the Rutherford. Like as you can see here, that I told that nearly 99.9% alpha particle passed undeviated. That means most of the space inside the atoms is empty or hollow. Now some of the alpha particles were deflected by small angles. Second point is what? The central part of an atom is heavy and positively charged. This heavy positively charged core inside the atom was named as nucleus. Okay, this you can see the dot over here in the middle. This is nucleus and this is positively charged. So this nucleus is very small as compared to the size of atom. That is why when it directly head-on approach to nucleus, the ray, then large deflection takes place. Then the entire mass of an atom is concentrated inside its nucleus. So this is all about Rutherford model of the atom. And on the basis of this experiment, he proposed his nuclear model. So the main point is, an atom consists of a positively charged nucleus which is surrounded by electrons moving around it. The nucleus of an atom consists of protons and neutrons. Then he said that electrons and the nucleus are held together by electrostatic forces of attraction. Electrons having positive charge and nucleus having neutrons and protons. Protons having positive charge, so positive and negative charge. So the force of positive and negative charge, which force held? So electrostatic force of attraction between the positive and negative charges there. So electric charges of opposite sign attract each other, and by which force it held? Electrostatic force of attraction. The effective size of the nucleus is very small as compared to the size of the atom. And nucleus consists of protons and neutrons. Electrons are present in the extranuclear part of the atom, means nucleus only having protons and neutrons. So this is all about Rutherford model of atom. Now we'll see about Bohr's model of atom. So he also proposed some postulates of his atomic model. So he explained that in an atom, the electron revolves around the nucleus in certain definite circular paths, and he called those definite circular paths orbits or shell. Now each shell or orbits having a definite energy. These orbits are also known as energy levels or energy shell. This is the second postulate. The third postulate is the orbits are characterized by an integer n. N can have values 1, 2, 3 and 4. So this integer is called quantum number. So K shell having quantum number 1, L 2, M 3, like that. So these are designated as starting from the nucleus K. The shell which is nearer to the nucleus, that shell named K. After that L, after that M, and then N. So when the electron is in the lowest energy level, it is said to be in ground state. So when an atom gains energy, the electrons will excite from lower to higher level. Like the electrons will go from 1 quantum number to 4 quantum number, like that. So n is equal to 1, that is K shell having lower energy, then M, then N, like that. So as long as an electron remain in a shell, it never gains or loses energy. Okay. So according to Bohr's atomic model, electrons revolve around the nucleus in certain orbits. These electrons are distributed in various orbits according to a scheme proposed by Bohr. So that the formula is given that the maximum number of electrons can be accommodated in a given orbit is given by the formula 2n square. So n is the quantum number of the orbit. Suppose if I am asking you that what number of electrons can be accommodated in K shell, then what is the quantum number of K? N is equal to 1. So apply the value of, put the value of n in the formula 2n square. So 2 into 1 square, that is 2. So 2 electrons, maximum 2 electrons can be accommodated in K shell. Like that you find out the value of how many electrons in the L shell. So 2 into 2 square, that is 8. N shell 2 into 3 square, that is 18, like that. Now following this rule, now you know that how many electrons can be accommodated by a certain or particular shell. You can write the electronic configuration of the following of the elements. Like you can see up to 20 you should remember. Just learn that. And please revise the chapter 3 and 4, which is the portion of your second internal assessment test. Thank you.